Dr. Elara Voss gazed out the viewport of the mission vessel Argus 7 at the smoky crimson glow of Xylar 9. The year was 2147, and though humanity had traversed millennia of light years among the stars, this planet, unlike any other, had remained a legend whispered only in the fringes of the great Index archives. Xylar 9 was not merely a red rock. Its surface was dominated by colossal, prismatic crystal forests that surged from the depths of the earth. These crystals pulsed with a continuous, vibrant energy, casting hues of violet, gold, and deep scarlet that danced in the shadows, lending the desolate landscape an ethereal, mystical beauty. Standing at the threshold of this cosmic spectacle, Elara knew that more than just a scientific breakthrough awaited them. A lesson etched across time was buried here. The team spent their initial weeks performing rigorous geological and atmospheric surveys. Then, one frigid morning, Lieutenant Kale, the team's brilliant young data analyst, detected an anomalous energy signature in a region where the crystal density defied all known physics. They navigated into the heart of the crystal forests and found themselves at the entrance to a cavern so vast it appeared naturally vaulted. The air inside was startlingly different from the exterior. It was thick, humid, and charged with static electricity that crackled against their armored suits. By the light of their headlamps, they realized the cavern walls were not just rock, but polished, intricate surfaces inscribed with complex, geometric symbols. These were less like the letters of a language and more like mathematical equations of existence. They charted the genesis of a civilization and its ascent through the harnessed power of the crystals. Deeper still, suspended in the air, they encountered enormous, three-dimensional holographic maps that detailed the Xylarian sprawling cities, temples, and the immense energy conduit grid that once enveloped the entire planet. Elara's fingers traced the vibrant, pulsing symbols on the floating holographic interface. The maps instantly surged to life. Streams of energy colored in amethyst, emerald, and gold charted the flow of power, showcasing the Xylarians' technological zenith and their harmonious integration of nature and synthetic might. Jox, the chief engineer, observed that the energy was both geothermal and profoundly resonant, confirming the crystals functioned as a form of organic power capacitor. Yet, the glorious display abruptly darkened. The vibrant colors receded, replaced by somber shades of crimson and black. The wall inscriptions shifted, focusing on themes of unrestrained hubris and catastrophic collapse. The Xylarians, driven by an insatiable quest for total power, had pushed the limits of their energy fields until they induced a rogue, planetary-scale resonance. This event had violently destabilized the planet's core and incinerated the civilization itself. The crushing realization settled upon Elara. The crystals were not a source of power to be plundered, but a colossal, cosmic tombstone, a warning carved into the bedrock of the universe. Kale, using a finely tuned receiver of his own design, managed to establish a communication link with the residual energy network of the crystals. He downloaded terrifying visual and auditory warnings left by the last Xylarians. The recordings of the final moments of collapse were dominated by the rising shriek of a chaotic siren, symbolizing the moment the balance of power was fatally lost. The team unanimously decided they could not allow this data to fall solely into the hands of the Enclave Earth's powerful, resource-driven governing body. They shielded the most sensitive files with multi-layered quantum encryption and prepared to depart, determined to honor the memory of the perished civilization by protecting their own species from repeating the same fatal mistake. As the Argus 7 slipped into the profound silence of interstellar space, Kale's sensors registered the anomaly. It wasn't external interference. It was an ominous rhythmic vibration emanating from within the crystal energy files they had collected. After days of frantic, isolated analysis, Kale cracked the final layer of Xylarian encryption. The decoded message flashed across the console, confirming Elara's deepest dread. The power that consumed you awaits you. You should have left IT behind. IT is now en route. A cold, existential dread settled over Elara. They hadn't merely discovered a ruin. They had inadvertently nudged a cosmic disaster onto a collision course with Earth. Upon reaching Earth's orbit, the expected fanfare of heroes was replaced by the rigid, holographic visage of Senator Vance, the iron fist of the Enclave. His orders were immediate. The vessel was to be rerouted to Quarantine Station Zeta. Vance's face was etched with contempt as he dismissed Elara's preliminary reports of wisdom and caution. We expected a limitless energy source. Dr. Voss, what you have delivered is a bedtime story about mythological overreach. Your data will be vetted by the Weapons and Power Research Division. We, unlike your primitive Xylarians, will control that power. To Elara, Vance's greedy glare was the identical reflection of the hubris that had extinguished a civilization millennia ago. Trapped in the sterile confinement of Quarantine Zeta, the team mobilized. Kale, using the inherent instability of the Xylarian signal itself, devised a plan to bypass the station's advanced magnetic locks. Simultaneously, he tracked the approaching danger. The force dubbed the Nexus Resonance had been momentarily contained in a spatial void, a pocket wormhole, but Vance's teams, in their blind pursuit of power control, had clearly launched a powerful guide signal to pull the crystal energy closer to Earth. Kale pinpointed the signal's origin: a remote, legendary black site beneath the icy wastes of Greenland, known only as Black Cell 3. With mere moments to spare before the Crimson Cell Vance's elite, Black Ops security force reached their cell. Elara, Jox, and Kale executed their escape. They broke containment and, through pre-established clandestine channels, contacted their only trusted ally, Dr. Theron Zephyr, an eccentric astrophysicist whom Vance had once disgraced. Theron, intrigued by the sheer scale of the dimensional threat, secured them passage on a heavily dubious cargo freighter bound for the Arctic. The moment the freighter Ryuz-12 landed roughly on the Greenland ice shelf, the environment screamed its instability. The sky was no longer simply cold. It was electrified, pulsating with chaotic, bleeding colors as the Nexus Resonance began its interaction with Earth's ionosphere. Kale immediately set up a countdown timer for the moment of critical lock on. 3:47:12. With time running out, the team moved. Kale exploited the atmospheric chaos, turning the Xylarian receiver into a wide-spectrum electronic jammer, creating a localized white noise storm that blinded the thermal sensors and surveillance drones surrounding the fortress. Elara and Jox infiltrated the facility through an archaic, frozen subsurface coolant duct. Inside, however, they quickly discovered that Vance had anticipated their desperation. Colonel Silas Vorn, commander of the Crimson Cell, had already sealed all main routes and positioned his team strategically to hunt them within the labyrinthine corridors. The tension was immediately amplified by a terrifying physical phenomenon. The Nexus Resonance S-energy was violently overloading the reactor core, causing the facility's gravitational stabilization metrics to fail. The floor beneath them would fluctuate without warning, shifting from triple gravity to near zero-G in terrifying rhythmic pulses. As the countdown dropped below 2 hours, the team fought their way through the collapsing infrastructure. Finally, they burst into the vast stabilization zone, the main chamber housing the immense guide signal generator. There, flanked by his remaining security detail and ignoring the chaos, stood Senator Vance. Countdown 2 hours 30 minutes and 0 seconds. Elara struggled against the shifting gravity to cross the floor toward Vance. Vance, clinging to the platform railing, his face contorted with rage and fear, shouted, "This is not some moral failure, Voss. This is salvation. I will harness this power, and I will be the architect of humanity's true destiny." Elara met his gaze, unflinching. "You talk of destiny, Vance, but you are only recreating a tomb. The power is uncontrollable, and you have brought it to our doorstep." While Elara confronted the senator, Kale frantically analyzed the generator schematics. The system was designed to withstand planetary destabilization. It was no simple off-switch. The only way to stop the Nexus lock-on was to induce a catastrophic technical failure. Kale realized the terrible truth. He had to generate an inverse resonance wave, a signal mirroring the guide signal, but precisely 180 degrees out of phase, amplified beyond any physical limit. "It will cancel the lock-on," Kale shouted over the grinding metal, "but the feedback will instantly incinerate the device, the generator, and everything within 10 meters. Countdown 0 hours 0 minutes and 10 seconds. The floor was liquefying from the intense energy. With the crimson cell closing in and Vance momentarily stunned by Jax's calculated strike, Kale turned to Elara. "You survive and tell the truth, Elara. That is the Xylarian lesson." "That is my mission now." He did not wait for her protest. With a swift movement of profound purpose, Kale slammed the overloaded Xylarian receiver into the generator's main conduit. 0 hours 0 minutes and 1 second. A searing, incandescent light erupted, momentarily blinding the entire chamber. The power of the inverse resonance wave tore through the guide signal, simultaneously dismantling the generator into its constituent atoms and creating a localized spacetime void. Kale vanished in the searing blast, leaving only a puddle of molten crimson metal that was once his receiver. The Nexus Resonance, its lock-on shattered, scattered harmlessly into space. Elara and Jax barely escaped the disintegrating facility, retrieved by Theron's hastily repositioned freighter. Senator Vance and the remnants of the Crimson Cell were officially listed as lost to the Arctic elements. Dr. Elara Voss and Jax returned, carrying not just the data, but the profound, unbearable weight of Kale's sacrifice. Their report, supported by the irrefutable Xylarian warnings, forced a seismic shift in the Enclave's policies. A new era of exploration was mandated, one rooted in stewardship and respect, not blind acquisition. Elara, the sole inheritor of a wisdom paid for by 2 civilizations, and one friend, ensured that the eternal echo of the Crimson World would forever serve as humanity's chilling, necessary warning.